Hello everyone, welcome to Team Australia's presentation on the lessons learned from the security incidents that led to the lockdown of critical mission activities of the Five Eyes nations in the Global Economic Summit 2022. This presentation intends to keep all stakeholders informed of the steps taken to mitigate the cyber attacks and re-establish a good level of trust between the governments and their citizens. The agenda of our presentation are incident overview, giving complete detail of the events, then identification of critical systems in our network, followed by the containment and eradication of the attack. We also talk about the recovery process. After that is the evidence acquired. Next is information sharing, the need to share information with or without source attribution. Then the lessons learned, followed by the team's effectiveness. We also touch on areas needing improvement, followed by recommendations and the conclusion. As the summit began, Team Australia responded to a network denial of service attack caused by flows of UDP packets traffic congesting the corporate network. The cause of the traffic was traced to a pair of computer systems, one machine targeting the other with numerous miscellaneous protocol packet traffic. The team resolved the incident by isolating the system generating all the UDP traffic and filtering the miscellaneous protocols. The next day, the summit's critical mission activities were disrupted. Delegates were unable to get access to the confidential summit data needed for the conference. The attacker's message displayed on the computer screen say, "Your computer has been involved in computer fraud activity and has been locked down by the FVEY and the Justice Department, unless you pay the sum of $500 in Bitcoins with payment details on the screen." Nations' networks have just been compromised by a riveting ransom attack, which pretends to be a warning from a country's law enforcement agency. It locks you out of your PC and threatens criminal proceedings within 48 hours based upon very serious offenses. The attackers are demanding $500 via Bitcoin to avoid prosecution. However, cyber criminals cannot be trusted. Based on the time of the incident, a single threat actor or group yet to be identified is believed to be responsible for this attack. Similarly, there is an ongoing investigation of 2 employees, possibly insider threats linked to this ransomware attack. Several security violations and standard operating procedures were compromised. Our next slide identifies critical systems in Team Nations corporate network and the preventive measures put in place at the summit. The critical components are servers. We have the web servers for hosting the web pages and the email server located in the demilitarized zone. In the internal network, we have a file server for file sharing and the delegates' workstations. Also present is a router to guide and direct network data and a switch, the interface of local area network to the DMZ. Then the firewalls, intrusion detection system for monitoring inbound and outbound network traffic. Preventive measures put in place are operating system patches, training delegates, access controls, closing unused ports, and other security standard operation practices. After the brief of the incident, the CISO summons the assigned response team from the business continuity plan to carry out the containment and eradication of the malware in the network. The containment strategies are: team disconnected systems from the network, unplugging the internet cables, all external removable devices in the network were removed, all affected devices were kept on for forensic analysis. The eradication strategies are: the team checked the computers and servers on the network for signs of encryption, such as altered data files, kill or disable the execution of known ransomware binaries to minimize damage and impact to the systems, identify the malware using various scanning tools, and remove the trigger file from the network after it has been identified. And then the team turned file sharing offline, take an image of the infected device, and collection of logs for forensic analysis. After the containment and eradication team completed their task, the recovery team imaged the critical systems in the network using FTK Image and Encase. Then the team determines the techniques of the attack to identify the root cause of infection using Wireshark, Emacs, Node, Metasploit. Evidence from the attacks was collected with further details in our next slide. Then the team restored data and connectivity using the NIST and PSPF guides. All relevant authorities and stakeholders were notified after testing was completed. and business operations and services were restored to full capacity. Our next slide is evidence acquired from attack number 1 and attack number 2. Attack number 1. The attacker sent a phishing email on the first day of the event with an attached Excel file that has downloader functionality built in to a delegate. The email contains instructions to update the Excel document for review. The delegate acted on the instructions by clicking the attachment that triggered the download of the malicious code and execution of the codes in the target system. The files that were downloaded into the target systems are ransomware.exe, read2decrypt.html, and files_encrypted.html. Using Wireshark analysis, there was an exchange of 5,833 packets between two IP addresses displayed on the screen. The confirmation of the existence of a problem can be attributed to the fact that there was significant traffic within a minute occurring between the mentioned IP addresses. We have the IP address of the attacker and the IP address of the target displayed on the screen. We also found the secret password cyberwar with the help of the tool Offcrack. The encryption keys were retrieved using the password and the system was successfully decrypted. Attack number 2 involves possible insider threat of 2 employees, and we retrieved thumb drives and unauthorized accounts that has a possible link to the incidents in the ongoing investigations. In this slide, we will discuss the importance of information sharing among nations and private businesses. Threat actors can be persistent, motivated, and agile, and they use a variety of tactics, techniques, and procedures to compromise systems, disrupt services, and steal sensitive information. Given the risk these threats present, it is increasingly important that nations and private entities share cyber threat information and use it to improve their security posture. Information sharing helps to disseminate actionable threat information to member nations and support all entities with tools to mitigate risks and enhance resiliency. According to NIST Special Publication 800-150, information sharing benefits are shared situational awareness, improved security posture, knowledge maturation, greater defensive agility. How to conduct information sharing among nations and private entities. The best way to conduct information sharing among nations and private entities are: establish information sharing goals and objectives, specify the scope of information sharing activities, establish information sharing rules. Source attribution: yes or no, should it be part of information sharing? Unattributed information sharing may allow an organization to share more information because there is less perceived risk to the organization's reputation. The lack of attribution may, however, limit the usefulness of the information because users may have less confidence in the information that originates from an unknown source. If the original sources of information cannot be identified, organizations may be unable to confirm the information has been received from multiple independent sources, thus reducing an organization's ability to build confidence in the received information. Yes, attributed information sharing is needed with full compliance from all entities to strengthen the integrity of the information and the source. In this slide, we will look at lessons learned. Several lessons were learned from this incident. Updates and patches of operating systems are vital to mitigate evolving threats. Employee training will now be conducted monthly and no longer quarterly to increase security awareness. Management of staff will now be conducted by the HR department to ensure employees are well monitored. Our incident response plan and business continuity plan have been tested. Monthly drills will be conducted to improve on setbacks. Multi-factor authentication and rule-based access control will be strictly adhered to. In this slide, we will look at our areas of effectiveness. Team Australia ensured there was no damage to files, no loss of personally identifiable information data. Systems were taken down as soon as the threat was identified. Full recovery with minimal downtime. No ransom was paid. In this slide, we look at areas needing improvement. We had failed security controls. The firewall did not detect the malicious activity as expected because it is outdated. Weak email protection allowed the email to get to the target. The presence of intrusion prevention system in our network will actively restrict or drop detected malicious packets. Unfortunately, we had no IPS in the network topology. Current vulnerabilities in our information systems are employees. We need to improve training strategies for effective security. Security controls must be incorporated into our software in all phases of development. We need to conduct a quarterly audit as against annual audits of the vulnerabilities in our supply chain to minimize the risk associated with the links. Our next slide is recommendations. We recommended improved security controls, such as having email filters to ensure strong email protection to detect a malicious email. Access controls, we have multi-factor authentication and role-based access controls being recommended for all employees. SNOT rules be reviewed regularly to ensure new threats are timely detected. Our security policies be regularly reviewed with daily compliance checks. We also recommended improved awareness. For employee training, security awareness training be added to the orientation of newly employed personnel. Awareness and reporting, training assessment be done monthly with a training test. Employees who fail the test will have to repeat the training. We must continue to ensure vendors in the supply chain comply with our security standards of operation to do business with the nation. Still on recommendations, we recommend patch management. Manage patches effectively. Conduct reviews after incidents. Review periodically to stay up to date on the current technology. There should be regular maintenance of patches and urgency to apply patches. We also recommend a review of policies on regular basis and money be invested on prevention and compliance with government regulations. The ransomware attack and other recall threats at the summit are strong indications that cyber attacks are not ending soon. Hence, nations and private businesses must ensure that securing the information systems remains a priority. In contrast, open and transparent information sharing is necessary for all stakeholders to make informed decisions continuously. Thank you for viewing our presentation.